Hey, hello, folks. Welcome to this month's update on what's going on with the End of Dragons and other bits that I scribble about as well. Do feel free to ask questions and pop them in the comments there. Emski's here. Hello, Emski's. Give it a quick wave to Emski. There we go. Hello, Emski. She's manning the questions again, looking after your comments and queries. And I do have a very special guest to chat with tonight. But first, I know it's a very strange time and on a Friday night in the UK. So thank you to everyone who's shown up or will show up. It's much appreciated. I know that we're also on at the same time as a key game of the Euros. And it's half-time at Netherlands v France at the Leipzig Stadium. So just to confirm, I will be keeping an eye on the scores and we'll be keeping you up to date. So we'll leave that scrolling there. Tonight, back to the show. We're nearly there. We are just a week away from the publication of The End of Dragons. So I've got a few things to cover tonight. How you can get signed paperbacks of The End of Dragons, a couple of events in the UK where I'm going to be selling and signing the books, and why I'm not going to be in the country on publication day. So anyway, The End of Dragons, it's all done, including the proofread, and the proofread was done by none other than my special guest tonight, Julian Barr. Julian has taught Greek and Roman history at the University of Queensland, which I hear mostly consisted of him doing his best Minotaur impression for students on request. These days, he's a Brisbane-based author of historical fantasy, including the acclaimed novels The Way Home, The Ivory Gate, and The Seven Hills with Odyssey Books, as well as the Viking-inspired serial Tooth and Blade. And he produced the audiobooks and directed those as well. And he's got some exciting news about his fantasy fiction, which he's going to tell us about later. So if you love your fantasy proper epic with dragons, hang in there. Julian Barr, are you there in the green room? Julian, there he is. Hello, Julian. How are you today?
Good, Mark. How are you?
I'm good. Well, look, let's because we had to first of all, thank you for getting up so early, because you are on the other side of the planet from me, and I know we had to bump the episode from early in the week because we were both coughing like Victorian orphans. So, how are you today?
Well, I'm breathing, which is fantastic. So that's a good start. All involuntary muscles are firing. Excellent baseline.
I told you before, don't make me laugh. It set me off. Yes, and hello. Was that Sage who was saying hello there? Hello, Sage. Good to see you too. It's the frozen south. It's not much warmer up here, to be honest. So it's kind of a bit cold everywhere. So, Julian. So, I don't want to make you suffer, and do familiarize yourself with the mute toggle if you do get a coughing fit. You were both beta reader and a proofreader on The End of Dragons, and for both of those, you are reading the book from beginning to end, which some people might say is punishment enough, but they are different processes, aren't they? Can you talk about those as different processes?
Yeah. So with the beta read, it's very much sort of big picture stuff. I'm very much interested in looking at the forest rather than the trees. When it comes to the proofread, it's not so much looking at the trees as the individual leaves, going through sentence by sentence, very forensic. And I have to say, normally a big part of the proofreader's job is cleaning up typos. I didn't actually find very many of those in your manuscript. It was more a matter of, is this comma placed in the right place? Does this sentence quite make syntactical sense?
There'll be a lot of those.
Yes, it was. But I have to say, too, it's really interesting, too, because I find that proofreading is almost like a meditative state in a way, in that you kind of sit back and you're kind of letting the story kind of wash over you. You're not necessarily conscious of it. You're much more looking at it in terms of linguistics. And I could get to the end of the chapter sometimes and be like, Well, I read that very, very closely. I have no idea what happened because I just wasn't there for the story,
Yeah,
if that makes any sense
it
whatsoever.
does. And well done for getting the word meditative out at 6 a.m. where you are. I'm very impressed.
I dedicate that word to Mr. D, yes.
Quite right, quite right. The thing is as well, Julian, you offer, because you edit all my short stories and you are my, beta reader for pretty much everything I do. You and Ian Sainsbury, the first people who see anything I write. But you offer editorial services for authors in the US, in the UK, Australia, the English speaking world, each of which is slightly different. And I know there are a couple of things where you said to me, is this how you do this in the UK? Because it's not how we do it over here. And so how, obviously you've got to be very conscious of all those different styles across the world. You have to sort of, get into a kind of zone before you edit an English novel compared to, say, one written by a US novelist.
I think that we live in a very different world and that things are very global these days. And I think that certainly for an Australian, we speak this. But once upon a time, we would have spoken the Queen's English or the King's English. Yeah, quite so. These days, most written communication in Australia is this strange hybrid of US versus UK conventions. And I have to say, as an Australian proofreader, you can't make assumptions about what's correct and what's not. So I think a big part of what I do is communication, asking questions of the author. Don't just go in and make changes willy-nilly. If you're not sure about something, it's actually okay to ask the question.
Yes.
Either in an email or a message, or even just leaving a comment in the document.
No, I agree. Because authors have their own idiosyncrasies, don't they? I'll say Jews in South Africa. South African English is also a hodgepodge. Yeah, I bet it is. Nice. Again, lovely word, hodgepodge. That feels very English. That I don't know, very very British, but so it's authors have their own little idiosyncrasies. So there may be something that they do. I remember when we spoke to Ben Aronovich on the Bestseller Experiment podcast, he was like, I write in the vernacular. There are sometimes things that you consider errors that I consider, true to the character.
Right. And I think that it's actually really arrogant sometimes of a proofreader to make corrections without consulting the author. I remember when my academic book got proofread, the publisher outsourced it to someone who I don't know who it was. It was some foreign country, and they just completely ignored my list of abbreviations and my style guide that I'd provided. And actually, they ended up introducing literally hundreds of errors and creating days of work for me, fixing what they'd fixed. And I have to say, you and your copy editor, Lisa, yes,
Lisa Rogers, yes, fantastic.
Yes, she's brilliant. Made things very easy. You provided quite a comprehensive style guide.
Yes.
On things like.
I was going to come to the style guide because it's for those who don't know, she basically, I think it was like 2.5 pages of one is spelling conventions, words that are spelled a particular way, names, proper nouns, all that kind of thing, and all my little quirks, just so that they were consistent not only with my writing but the whole series as well. And it's one of those things I've been thinking, because I know Queeve McDonald uses one for his books, because when I've done copy editing or proofreading for him, Elaine has always sent me one of those. And I thought, I should probably get around to that. And boom, Lisa just did it. And she's done it for, Dragons, and she's done it for the Witches of Woodville books as well. So it's so handy.
it saved so much work. For little tiny finicky things like, excuse me, lapis stone is not capitalized, lapis moon is.
Yes.
Which it saved a lot of work going back and forth. So if you can invest the time into a style guide, particularly if you have a book that has very unique and kind of secondary world building, it's really, really helpful.
I remember as well in the new book, you questioned my use of the word loon, as in, oh, that person is a complete loon. And you said, because it refers to our moon. And, you know, blah, blah. And I went and looked back in the End of Magic. I used it about 6 times. So, you know, it's established. It's in the world. You know, you can kind of use that word. So, yeah. So when we're going to talk about your stuff in a second, but I want to know who proofreads the proofreader, who edits the editor, who do you go to? Do you have a go-to person for particularly proofreading, which is such a skill?
Mm-hmm. My first proofreader is me.
Right.
I will try to get a really clean copy out there for everyone to read, and I will self-edit my books within an inch of their lives before anybody sees them. Partly that's just because I'm a perfectionist. However, you know, things do slip through inevitably because A, I have my blind spots, and B, it's just human nature, you know. I think, and look, to be honest, you did a really thorough proofread of my book when you gave me your beta reader feedback. One of the words, no, that's fine. Don't worry about it. It was so helpful. One of the words that consistently trips me up is like horde versus horde.
Oh yes, HORAD and HORDE. Yeah.
Quite right. So I think I'm very fortunate in that I've got a lot of writer friends who have eagle eyes, and my beta readers spot just about everything. So, that's
brilliant.
Yeah.
Excellent. We're going to talk about Oh, wait, hang on. We got an update on the football here. There's been Netherlands v France. There's been a substitution. The French forward Kylian Mbappe, his mask has fallen. You know, thought he broke his nose. They put a mask on. His mask has fallen off, revealing that he's actually the Scarlet Pimpernel. So manager Didier Deschamps has brought on 2 substitutes from a team. Well, actually, they're from a small village in Gaul, Asterix and Obelix, which is a controversial choice after they were both accused of doping in a match in ancient Britain in 50 BCE. We'll be sure to come back to that one with updates as soon as we have them. Right, back to the show. Julian, so let's talk about your amazing new book, which I know is amazing because I read an early version of it and was completely swept away by it. And let's have a look. Let's have a look at the cover, shall we? Ba-ba-ba-ba! Worldbreaker, the Kingdoms of Grimm one, which is coming in January. You can pre-order now. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to put the pre-order link in the comments right now. Bear with me. I'm just going to plop that in the comments there so you can all see it. And you can go pre-order that baby right now. Oh, it says having trouble connecting. Come on. There it is. I'll put it in there twice. Even better. Excellent. So, Julian, tell us about Worldbreaker, Kingdoms of Grimm. And yes, Sage, it is gorgeous, isn't it?
So, the Kingdoms of Grimm Worldbreaker is essentially my idea was to take sort of Grimm's fairy tales and sort of retell them as a very traditional kind of high fantasy and something in the tradition of almost the Forgotten Realms or Dragonlance or the Legend of Drizzt. And I guess it came out of lockdown in a lot of ways because I was looking for comfort books and I went back to the old chunky high fantasies that I used to love, as well as fairy tales. And it just suddenly hit me, if this is your comfort book, then you should write this kind of stuff. So the series it revolves around a central dramatic question, which I'm sure you will love. And the question essentially is love stronger than hate? Uh, we follow two brothers. One of them is a huntsman. His twin, Rowan, sorry, Abel is the huntsman. His twin, Rowan, is a dark sorcerer. And they both suffer the curse of immortality. Abel is cursed so that he will see the death of everyone he loves, whereas Rowan has been blessed to see the death of everyone he hates.
Right.
And across the series, we're going to follow Abel traveling across the kind of mist-shrouded continent of Grimm, battling ogres, warlords, and becoming the huntsman of every legend, and struggling against his brother as they resolve the question, which one is going to be the more powerful. And in the end, of course, well, we all know love is the most powerful force in the universe. But how we get there is the joy of the storytelling process.
Well, it is a joy, and I can tell you, when reading it, I felt like I was a teenager again, reading those wonderful high fantasy novels, being transported to another world. It's just chef's kiss, just love it, and I can't wait to read the rest of the series. So yeah, folks, do pre-order, do check it out. It's coming in January. So yeah, and the other two are on their way. There's a trilogy, isn't it? There's two more on the way. Is that right?
There's two more on the way. I'm hoping to have the second one out later next year, and probably the third one in 2026. I have plans for more, but let's see how these first three go.
Fantastic. Also, I just want to talk about the cover art as well, because it's gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous. It's from a company in Ukraine, isn't it? It's a company called Get Covers. Can you tell us about those?
Yeah, Get Covers, really excellent company. They're based in the Ukraine. Very, very responsive to design prompts, and will do as many revisions as is necessary until it's perfect. The trick with working with Get Covers, make sure you're very, very specific in your brief. Don't just say, well, this is kind of what I've got in mind, but, just be creative. No, that's not how you deal with how you deal with cover designers. They draw all of their stock photos from a website called Deposit Photos. And I found that to get the best results possible, tell them have a good look through Deposit Photos for the images that you want on your cover, and you give them the number of that image, and you say, composite these, please.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah, very affordable as well. And
I've heard that. Yeah, I've heard that from a few people. Yeah, that's great. Funny you talk about briefing. I got messaged out of the blue by Harry Goldhawk today, who does the Witches of Woodville covers, and he's asking for a few pointers on the Corn Bride, and wanted to know about the dress and things like that. So yes, that's it. That's in progress as well. So yeah, we might come back to that as well. So that's very, very exciting.
There's one thing I wanted to ask you about too, was because you're writing a trilogy, you're writing a fantasy trilogy. Could you tell me a little bit about the challenges of writing the second part of a trilogy, particularly when you didn't necessarily intend for the first part to be the start of a trilogy?
I've probably said this a few times. So I had wanted to write a trilogy, then got about halfway through fundraising the first one. I thought, I don't want to do this again. This is too much like hard work, begging for money every day. And then I thought I'll do a one and done, and that's it. And then I got the rights back, and I was thinking maybe I should have a go at doing a sequel. and I'd left the door a little bit open. I mean, you know, every ending is a new beginning kind of thing. So you see Roshin and Oscar sort of sailing off somewhere. You know, Sander Bree is he's got, you know, he's got, he and Maliki are going to go off and have adventures together. So I thought, okay, and poor old Gudrun's left for dead halfway up a mountain. So I thought, okay, well, that's my starting point. Let's go from there. Let's see what trouble we can get them into. But it was very much it's that, you know, the sequels I love are the ones that expand on the world and dig deeper into the characters. We do have new characters being introduced in the second book, but not too many. I was very wary of just piling on and glomming on new things in the hope that they would stick, because I think that's something I just find if you have too much of that, the reader can, well, I know that I lose interest when, you know, it happens a lot in superhero movies. You have one superhero and you can follow that, then you get a gang of them, that's fine, and then you got, you know, 15 superheroes and a dozen villains. It's like, oh, okay, I'm out, forget it. Emily's glaring at me. Oh, here we go, we're off. So yeah, I was very aware that I wanted to I wanted to dig deeper into those characters a bit more. I mean, Sander and Roshin, their tales kind of mostly told. So in this, they don't change or evolve very much, but I do put them through the ringer and challenge them. But when you've got, you know, Gudrun, you see as goes through a lot. Maliki goes through an awful lot. And then a couple of the new, and Oscar, massive changes for Oscar. Not gonna dig too deep into those, you know. So it's you know, you want to explore different characters with each one, and then for the third one, that's going to happen again. There'll be different characters that we focus on in the third one. So by the time they're done, you know, I think each character will have had their little moment in the spotlight, a little moment to shine. But I had very little idea of where the story was actually going, and it wasn't until the between the edit and the copy edit that there was a major change, which you must have noticed. And I don't want to, I'm just going to say one word, Lazulium, which if you're reading the book, you might know what that means. That was Simon Spanton, you know, because there are airships in this one. And he was like, your airships don't work. So I had to figure out a sort of magical way to make it work in a world where magic is gone. And the solution I came up with, I thought, well, that's going to be pivotal for book 3. So completely pivotal. So yeah, it's...
One of the things I did notice when you were responding to some of the notes that I and Ian and Simon had given you, your solutions to problems tended to solve multiple problems simultaneously.
I'm always keen on those.
And in a much more clever way than I ever could have come up with. And I think that that's part of the joy of being a beta reader slash being involved in.
Yeah, I mean, you say it's clever, but it's like, you know, if I'm at a gathering or whatever and someone makes some comment and I disagree with them, I think of the clever reply at 3 a.m. You know, oh, that's what I should have said. But in a novel, no one ever sees that time gap. So that those clever solutions were hours of me going, how am I supposed to have it? Oh, you know, and scribbling notes and going round and round in circles till eventually, and actually the theme thing really helps, because whenever I'm looking for a solution, I say, how can we do this and keep it on theme? Because I think the temptation is, again, just to add more, add another character, add something else, but it's like, no, obviously the reason it doesn't work is because we've gone off theme a bit. Or if we need something extra, let's make it thematic. Let's make it, you know, cling on to, you know, what the rest of the story is actually about. And that, I mean, particularly this novel is all about change. So coming up with the Lazulium idea was like, let's put something into the society that is really going to change things for everyone. It's better for others, worse for others, you know. So that was that really, really helps me. That really, thank you, Craig Mazin.
It's interesting you say that, because I was actually going to raise that very thing. The fact that your solution addresses multiple problems at once suggests to me that it's really maintaining the thematic integrity.
Yes.
And it's just wonderful to see. And this is all of the stuff that the public doesn't get to read, and it's just such a joy and a privilege to be involved, to be honest.
Well, it's a joy and a privilege to have you involved, Julian, so thank you very much. I really appreciate it. Really appreciate it.
Ah, shucks. Look, it's a great book. If you liked the first one, The End of Magic, it does what all good sequels do. It pushes the characters further. Things get darker in certain respects. And one of the things that really strikes me is the first one, it could almost be viewed as an apocalypse. The second one is very much, well, we're quite a number of years on from the apocalypse, and actually life continues. But for our favorite mages, no, things will never go back to the way they were.
No, and
how do they fit into this new world?
Yeah, very much so. Very much a post-Brexit novel. A quick update on the football. There's been there are Vikings on the pitch. The Netherlands have erected stone dolmen around their penalty area, making it virtually impossible to get a shot at goal. And now the French are appealing to the ref, who he's been kidnapped by Vikings. Well, it's sad to see such unnecessary behaviour in an international game, but we'll come back to that later. Yes, End of Dragons is coming on 28th of June. But for those of you who prefer your books in paperback flavour, well, I've just taken delivery of some, and look. Let me have let's have a sniff. So yes, I've got them. So, and if you want to order one and maybe get a signed one, I'm going to try and put a link in here again. Let's have a look. You should be able to do that right now. So there's a link coming up in the comments there. Or
such a gorgeous book.
Well, I mean, it's Alejandro Colucci. It's amazing artwork. I'm so lucky to get him. There's a 2-pack as well, so you can get the End of Magic and the End of Dragons together. Now, if you order these like this weekend, I can sign them and pack them over the weekend, because for a lot of next week, which is publication week, I'm going to be away. Certainly from Wednesday the 26th through to Sunday 30th, I'm basically out of the office. Why on earth would I choose to be out of the office on such an important day like publication day? Well, I can't say too much about it, but at the tail end of next week, I'm in Dublin for a thing to do with a film project. Can't say anything other than I'm very excited, and it's definitely going to be worth the trip. So, apologies for that. But if you want signed paperbacks, I've got not many. We've got about 20. So if you want those, place an order now. I'll try and pack them over the next, sign them and pack them over the next couple of days and get them out to you. And of course, if any luck, you might get them before, the ebooks available. No, until Amazon. So Julian, what's now you got the trilogy, are coming. Is that what's consuming all of your writing world at the moment, or is there other stuff that you're working on?
Well, the one thing that I haven't talked about too much yet is that I'm working with an artist on a comic book, an epic fantasy, not related to the Kingdoms of Grimm, but also with wizards and dragons, which I'm looking forward to. Also got a couple of things coming up in short story anthologies. And aside from that, teaching creative writing classes at Signum University, which is great. I'm really loving that.
Brilliant.
It's so great. Look, I got to say,
yes, I've Sage as well. I've seen some panels from this. I've been privy enough to see some panels, and it does look very exciting. So yeah.
Look, I remember with the End of Magic, I said you kind of do what Pratchett did for Tolkien, but
I can tell you that actually that sold a copy at the MCM Comic Con. Someone read that and said, "Right, sold." So thank you for that.
Oh, you're welcome. But you kind of did that for Grimdark. Right. But I'm going to extend the comparison and say you are also your writing is also like Pratchett's in that over the course of time the series just gets better and better and better.
Oh, bless you, sir.
So please keep writing. Please keep it up.
Oh,
and I want to say that honest, Mum.
Yes, no. Well, I haven't started on I haven't even started on the third book yet. But It's going to be a weird month because there's another film project which has gone off to script's gone off to a producer. I've just got notes for the novel that I'm co-writing with Rowan, who was last month's guest. So that's going to take up a lot of time. So hopefully it's thank you, Sage. Hopefully I can make a start soon, but then I'm very busy. So again, just to also say, I mentioned events that I'm going to be doing. I'm going to be the Kent and East Sussex Railway Steampunk Weekend on the 29th and 30th of June. It's actually at two different train stations, Tenterden and Bodiam. I'm going to be at Tenterden, and the ticket includes unlimited rides on the steam train between Tenterden and Bodiam stations. And there's going to be food and music and crafts and a desperate author pleading with passers-by to buy his book. So I'm just going to pop a link in the comments there as well, so you can grab some tickets. And that promises to be fun for all the family. So do come along to that. And then after that, on the 5th and 7th of July, I'm at the London Film and Comic Con selling and signing books, which is a huge event. So if you can find me, come and say hi. But it's obviously a massive, massive event at London Olympia. I'm going to put a link in the notes for that as well. And that's a really, really big deal. First time I've done that as a store holder. So that should be fun. Now we've got final scores on the football. I think let's get an update on that. So the fourth official has brought on some wine, Gouda, Edam, Camembert, and Roquefort, and now the players are taking off their shirts and shorts and making love on the pitch, which is a surprise ending to an extraordinary game, but one I think we can all agree made more sense than England's inability to score a second goal against Denmark on Thursday. You don't follow the footy much, do you, Juno? I guess it doesn't mean much, to you down
Not
there.
nearly as much of a thing over here. We don't even call it footy.
Do you not?
No, we call it soccer.
Soccer, honestly.
We call rugby football, so...
Well, that's just... Did that ever come up in Bluey, Emily? The different names, rugby, football, soccer?
Yeah.
Emily's got me into Bluey, and it's the writing on that is seriously good.
It's so surreal.
Definitely surreal.
But so excited about the End of Dragons. So happy to hear all of your amazing things that you've got in train. I don't know when you sleep, but you know what? All of this success couldn't have happened to a nicer guy. So happy for you, Mark.
Stop it. I'm blushing. Stop it. You can come again, definitely. Well, look, Julian, thank you for getting up at the crack of dawn, which is winter over there as well. So it's dark and, it's cold and miserable. And, so I really, really appreciate it. Listen, folks, we're going to be back next month for a post-publication update. I'm tempted, let me know if you're interested, but I might do a spoiler section on the podcast. Maybe the last 10 minutes we can talk about spoilers. For those of you who've read the book, come back, we'll talk about, the ending and spoilers and where the trilogy might go. And I'm probably only going to do this once. So, hurry up and read the book. And I do have a special guest, and I know it's an author that you are all going to love. So thank you, Julian, for coming. Thank you all for showing up. Thank you if you've pre-ordered the book. A very special thank you if you've reviewed or rated the book on Goodreads or similar. And that's it, I think. Any questions from the folks out there, Emski? Nothing at the moment. So, yeah, okay, that's cool. I think we'll wrap it up then. Julian, have some breakfast or something if you haven't already. And, it's thank you for turning up on a Friday evening or a Saturday morning, because I know we got someone. I know Gavin. There we go, Gavin. You're in New Zealand, aren't you, Gavin? So thank you for that. And then South Africa as well. Woohoo! So thank you. Oh, Bill's here as well. Bill's from New York. Brilliant. Great to see you, Bill. How are you? Bill. Excellent. There we go. Have a good one, all. There we go. Let's end on that positive note. So have a good one, everyone. And until next time, happy reading. See you soon, folks. Bye. Bye.